TV King of Bowling, and right now you're looking at Mr. Butch Temke. Butch will go against Greg Lothian in game number 2. Temke we've seen several times on the TV King this year, but this is the championship match, and forget about everything else. He's not going to get any help with that pin, Dave.
Crank personified the power hurt him that time. The solid 9 on a pocket shot. Really don't even have to watch the ball. You know what it did. It hooked off so sharply going through the pocket that it went to the left of the 9 pin rather than taking it out as it normally should.
So Temke opens with the spare, and this man right now, the legion behind him, Greg Lothian, 4-time king in the Hudepohl TV King of Bowling this year, the only one we had. He took the title away from Kim Herman, who just a little disappointed not seeing Mr. Herman here today because he brought such a faithful following that always made the shows interesting.
Sure did. You know, Greg was our leading money winner this year up to this show on the King of Bowling.
I think by winning game number 1 and heading in the right direction, he's going to finish that way, too.
It sure looks that way. Kim Herman was the closest one to him by about $25.
You're seeing part of the crowd, as always, intermixed in there, Bo, is some of the proprietors that make all of this possible.
That's correct. Our good friend Sam Coleman from Coleman Lanes, Doug Martin's here today from Super Bowl, and, of course, Jerry Bettinghouse is here reading on his brother's center, who Roger Bettinghouse is our proprietor.
To set up the match, Greg says the left lane is playing just a little tighter today. And that's what might happen if the left lane is a little bit tighter, the solid 10. When we say tighter, we will mean that there is probably a little more oil in the area where the bowler just happens to be playing, or perhaps a little bit of a harder board. No problem, nothing wrong with the lanes, but you've got to make an adjustment and accommodate that. The strong 10, the ball finished just a little bit late.
Temke, as I mentioned, was on our show earlier in week 3. We saw him over at the Super Bowl. He was a 227, 222 loser to Don Scudder. Then again in week number 8, or week number 9, we saw him over at Stumps Lanes. And he lost that match by the closest of margins, 170 to 168 to Robin Burris. But he's on his horse today, Dave.
Both players playing approximately the same area of the lane. However, look at his ball. How far out is it before it comes into the pocket? Pretty far. And he gets a good angle on the shot. 10 pins, all of them doing their job. Butch Temke appears to be very comfortable on this pair.
As we mentioned yesterday, he rolled a 278 on the pair in a 1389 6-game series. And that was only second to Steve Miner, who rolled a 1412. We'll see Mr. Miner in the next game.
There you take a look at the score. Butch Temke actually perfect through 3, leaving a solid 10 pin in the first frame. Greg Lothian, solid 10, second frame. Both players are in the pocket, and that's where you have to be.
Oh, boy. He gets help from every pin.
Let's see if we can pick it up here on the replay. If Greg Lothian ever complains again about losing a hit, let's remind him of this one, right straight through the heart. He had the 4, 6, 7, 10, anything else up there that would have complicated his life, but all gone.
And he knew it as he clasped those hands together.
Maximum break. Boy, that's where you want to see it too. Championship week, crucial point. Greg Lothian got the break of his life, and he capitalizes on it.
He does. You know, sometimes in any sport, you get a break like that, your tendency is to let down right after it because of the relief, I guess, from the break. But I'll tell you, Lothian, we've seen him several times this year, have a shaky frame and then just come back and roll a string of them.
Actually, at this level of competition, a break doesn't make you sloppy, Tom. It makes you hungry to put the next one right up in there, I'll tell you.
A 3-bagger for Butch Temke.
Perfect through 4. Every ball has been exactly where you want it to be. 1-3, losing the solid 9 in the first frame. Butch Temke is going to be tough to beat.
You know, Bo, we have a very close fraternity, the BPA brothers, but it always seems to be growing. And this year, it grew by a couple more members.
That's correct. We have some fairly new members of the Bowling Proprietors Association this year. Fairfield Lanes has joined us. Eastgate Lanes, and Holly Lanes, the most recent joinee.
I have a feeling Butch Temke will be at those coming up if he keeps on striking like this.
Let's take a look at this. No deflection, no problem whatsoever. Right straight into the pit. A perfect, perfect shot.
So I have a feeling that, Dave, as we've seen so many times this year, this one can come right down to frames 10, 11, and 12 here.
Get in there! All right, pick it up.
Lothian a little high there, leaving 4.
Going right straight through the heart. By far the worst shot of the match so far. Going through, leaving the 3, 6, 9, 10. It's going to put him in extreme disadvantage. Loses the string, also loses count, and he loses the open frame.
Get back on it.
Boy, and at this stage of the competition with Temke rolling the way he is, you don't want to put the hammer firmly in Temke's hands.
Critical 5th frame, makes a very bad mistake. Butch Temke now, if he just bowls at the pace he's bowling now, will be the winner of the 2nd game. But Greg Lothian is not a quitter. He will not give up. There you go.
Right back on track. A little bit about Temke. He's a 28-year-old from Cincinnati, Ohio. He's been bowling since he was 16, so I mean he knows what it's like to be in competition. Bowls over at Western Bowl, and 3 to 6 times a week he tries to get out there. Boy, he's on his horse, Dave. He really is. 6th frame strike for Butch Temke.
Absolutely fantastic. Look at it here. He trusts the ball. He sends it way wide. Headpin, center of your screen, goes to the left, comes off, intersects the 4, and the 4 just kind of falls into the 7. Greg Lothian's got a problem. And the only way to stop the bleeding is for Butch Temke to make a mistake.
He's got 5 straight. We're in the 7th frame. Just didn't get the 10 pin, Dave.
The messenger pin, or the scout as we call it, could not quite find the 10 pin on that shot. Coming off the string will allow Greg Lothian to mount his pony and ride it to the wall, but situations this time, he cannot miss anymore by putting 10 pins in the pit. Greg Lothian must strike from here to the wall to have any kind of a chance.
Well, we've seen Greg Lothian before in situations like this. And when we come back, we'll continue with the Lothian-Temke match. This is Game 2 of Hudepohl's TV King of Bowling Finals here on Channel 5.
The original This fine select beer is Christian Moorline. It is made with a quite remarkable
match, and what you missed was something that you might not ever see, and you didn't see it anyway. But in the 7th frame, Greg Lothian did in fact hit his ankle on the first ball, throwing the ball into the channel, coming back, leaving 8, striking in the 8th frame, and 9 spare in the 9th, while Mr. Butch Temke, who has been solidly in the hole every shot, struck in the 8th and 9th frame. This game is over. Butch Temke will advance to the final match
against Steve Miner, and that should be quite a match, Dave. Lothian is not going to go out a slouch, though.
No, I tell you what, he's not a quitter. He is not a quitter. He never has been, never will be. Even though the game is over, he's got a lot of pride. He wants to strike it out here and hopefully get 190.
And there are going to be many more TV King of Bowling shows for Greg Lothian. At 22 years old, he's got a nice future ahead of him.
You bet. And for the bowlers at home who have hit their ankle on their first shot, it is incredibly painful. And for him to come back right after that shot, throw the ball in the pocket and leave the 7-10 split, and then come back the next frame and strike, it says a lot for Greg Lothian.
Boy, and Temke couldn't even wait for Lothian to get off the line. He just wants to get up there and roll. And I would imagine the anxiety now takes over when you realize you're rolling your next game for $1,800.
You know what the potential score is here? How about 279?
All right.
279. And that brings us, Bo, to another point.
That's correct.
The high score in 1986 TV King of Bowling will receive...
Oh, wait a minute.
TV.
269, I added wrong.
Oh, that's okay. We
Does
can
that
tie.
still work?
Can we give 2 TVs? 7-Up has graciously provided us with a nice television that we are to be presenting today for the high game. And, of course, Daryl Higgins up to this point is holding a 269 high game.
Way back in week 2. Never thought that would stand up that long.
No problem. No problem. We don't have to worry about it.
Well, at least not this game. But there's also a potential. Possibly we're down to 1 game left of a 300 game.
That's right. And our gracious sponsors from Jimmers Marine is here today to give the keys away to an $11,000 bass boat if the perfect game is rolled.
Jimmers is probably breathing a little easier now that it's come down to the last game.
Well, I think they really wanted to get that boat away.
On 300. Well, this game is over, and Butch Temke, a winner, 256 to 186 over Greg Lothian. He will go on to meet Steve Miner in the championship.